Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ. It is the end of 2024, and Representative Elik, what a year it's been. I feel like we've lived maybe 3 or 4 lifetimes in 2024 already.
I think you're right. When you look back, there's been a lot going on.
Well, and honestly, you've been pretty busy this year.
Very, very busy. And yes, this is a very, very busy job.
Well, right off the bat, what do you grade the year for Amy Elik, if you could, just at an overview?
Oh, do I have to give a numerical, or can I just say really intense? Yeah. Exciting. You know, you're watching history unfold and thinking, wow, I can't believe what's going on here. And you just hope you're always going to remember what the year felt like. But then you get to the end and you kind of forget some of the details.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, didn't you start this year off with being appointed to the governor's leadership team?
It's my caucus leadership team under Leader Tony McCombie, and it has been a whirlwind. It's just as intense as you would expect, just more meetings and more responsibility and leadership within your own caucus. So you definitely it's another layer added to the job.
Well, and it's just really important, too, because the fact that we're getting some more attention focused on this district, and it's one thing that you can't really get frustrated if they don't know where you are or what you need. And to have that representation, it's really big for this area. And definitely. What have you been able to do with those conversations so far?
Well, the Metro East region is pretty well represented on our House Republican leadership team with Representatives David Meyer and then Charlie Meyer from Oakville. So we are just making sure that when we talk about issues throughout the state, the job growth here, the fact that we're a border state, all of that is represented here in the Metro East. So, we want to make sure that when someone says downstate, they think about it's not just downstate south of I-80. We have a major metropolitan area right here. So it's just an opportunity to bring more attention to our area.
Well, and then there's just so much happening in this area, too. I mean, you have the bi-state development region and all of the hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure that brings, plus developments all over, it seems like, municipalities throughout your district. And the question is, how do you stay on top of that all?
You juggle and you do the best you can. You rely on help. I have wonderful staff that I just cannot say enough how wonderful they are, and they have served the constituents of the 111th just with some really important issues, and served our mayors and served just people throughout the area, and helped in any way they can. So you do it with help, you do it with flexibility, you do it with a crazy schedule where you kind of go from topic to topic very quickly. So you just do what you do. Well,
and it was might have been a month ago, who knows at this point in the year, but we were talking, and it seems like, now that you're a couple of years in, you're really finding that rhythm, and it takes some time to do that. And, given that this year, what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm proud of, I would say, the success I've had. I just was taking some notes, and on January 1st, my tow truck lighting bill will take place.
That's right.
And maybe that's not something that a whole lot of people will pay attention to, but that will improve safety for travelers throughout Illinois.
But, I feel like it's one of those issues that, not everyone will feel the impact, but the ones that do feel it will feel it so much more than maybe just a normal bill would impact an everyday citizen. So it's a great bill for the ones that it does impact.
Definitely. And I think I'm always proud of any accomplishment we can get through on the issue with child sexual abuse in school settings. Yeah. And I will tell you, there's unfinished work to do. And I'm really concerned because we go back to Springfield on January the 4th. Yes, that's a Saturday. Yes, we're working. We're working.
Erica Harris and I just talked about.
We are working that weekend, January 4th, and that bill. I won't say it sailed through the House because it was actually very difficult to get through the House committee.
This is the bill referring to even being 18 years of age, it's still inappropriate and illegal, correct?
Absolutely. Creates a crime of abuse of authority by an educator or authority figure. And the reason that's important is that we think that kids should be protected at any age all the way until they graduate. And then it's never appropriate for a student and a teacher to have a sexual relationship. And so once it started moving in the House, it did pass unanimously, and now it seems to be sitting in the Senate. So I have kind of a heavy heart thinking about is this going to die here in the Senate?
Right.
And that's really frustrating because January 8th is the inauguration day for the 104th General Assembly, and everything that's not done as of, the end of session on January 7th dies, and we have to start over again. So I am very proud to have gotten that through the House, but I am, like I said, a heavy heart thinking, what if we miss this opportunity to get this to the Senate? And it's awful because I don't have control over that in the Senate. And so all the legwork that I did in the House, is you're like handing your baby off to someone else to take care of in the other chamber, and you still want to have that attachment to it.
Right.
But ultimately, I have to rely on my Senate counterparts to get it through. So.
Well, and honestly, it's one of those things. It's like, what can our constituents do at this point? Because, the representative that answers to us has already fought for it, and we're just now on waiting mode.
And it is up to the leadership in the Senate. And, that's maybe where you look at how is the leadership within an individual caucus important. Yeah. And I think like the Senate Democrat leadership in the Illinois, they're the ones that have to decide we want to push this forward.
Well, and two, just making sure that the public knows that this bill was available, because sometimes I think no matter what your party lines are, I think especially with state issues such as, especially this one when it comes to protecting kids in school, it's not really an R or D thing. It's just a common sense
like
thing.
I said, it was bipartisan. I had support from both sides of the aisle, and everybody voted yes. Actually, interestingly, there was just an article or a news story by WGN Chicago on this bill. And so I was really appreciative to see that. Somebody sent that to me to show me, hey, I think this is your bill. I said, yes, it absolutely is. So there are still advocates fighting for this and still trying to get the word out.
Well, and it should be. I mean, the thing is, with people getting nervous about this new form of like technology and AI and what it could do, there's also some pretty cool benefits. I was reading some things about how they can use their AI coding to maybe be able to do more with online child predators, such as, child pornography and all the trading and that goes on. I mean, it's a thing that I didn't even know existed. And it's awful to even think about that even being a possibility.
It really is. It's so shocking, I think, these things go on online. It is sickening and just shocking.
And the thing that shocks me the most, because I read them for news, is hearing that, some of these things were years in the making. Right. And it's like, what led up to finally somebody going to report that individual? And maybe you could have caught him 6-7 months, a year and a half earlier and saved more children.
Exactly. And I just think of how appreciative I am of the police and the people working behind the scenes to root those people out online. Yeah. And I mean, that has to be hard for them too.
Oh, so, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, to look at that kind of filth online, I just really appreciate that we have law enforcement that is targeted towards those types of
I'm really proud, too, that it seems like across the country, there's this more of a movement to really start targeting, especially these pornography websites that aren't regulated at all. Right. And it's not, I don't care what anyone says, they just aren't. Right. And it's just the fact. So I hope that we can get more to a point where we can do more to really target these people. Yeah. There's no room for them for me right now. It's just not.
And I mean, I think the mental health and stability of our children and their future, we are adults. We have to safeguard their futures. And so they are not just little adults, they are children. And it is up to us as human beings and society to make sure that we are keeping them safe.
Well, and too, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame now with this exploitation because, especially for my biggest fear is for a child in middle school that made a bad decision on some website or app, and all of a sudden this one individual they'll never meet in their life has this blackmail over them, and it ruins that child forever.
Absolutely.
I mean, it literally ruins them.
Absolutely. And that is hard to see a child suffer through something like that.
Well, and it's good to know that we do have, conversations about it at the statewide level to keep our, communities and kids safe too. Right. And with that being said, I know that there was, we're waiting on to see if the Senate is going to do the right thing. And honestly, that's really what this is and make this into law. But is there anything else that you were working on this year that you'd like to fill us in on too?
I think we are always struggling, of course, in Illinois with the high taxes, high property taxes and other taxes. And there has been a lack of progress on that in Springfield. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But it takes bold leadership and, frankly, on the Democrat side of the aisle to make some changes so that people are not suffering and losing homes over their high property taxes. Yeah. So that's something I'm going to continue to work on. And I think there's ways we can help we can help people, especially senior citizens who maybe they've been in their house for 50 years or, 40 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. I mean, I had filed legislation last year to expand a program regarding longtime occupants that they have in Cook County. Why can't we have it here in the rest of the state? And so I'm looking at ways that we can just provide some relief for people.
Well, and I think that little bit of relief goes a long way. I mean, it's, I've always thought how great would it be for that homeowner that for 40 years has lived in that house and paid their bills. And, you're on a fixed income now that you're retired and you can't get the $20,000 insulation job. So is there a grant that we can help pay for $2,000 or $3,000 of it, at least to help?
Exactly. It makes such a difference. You're right. The new roof, maybe the new water heater, those things are incredibly expensive, but it is much more beneficial to have someone have some repairs and things like that done than to have to go in a nursing home
or demolish their house in 5 years because you aren't fixing it.
Right. Exactly.
It's brilliant.
And let's face it, if you get into that situation, your property taxes may not be being paid anyway.
Right.
So really it really makes more sense for us to figure out ways to help in those situations.
Well, and one thing that I keep getting a little bit, I guess it's just a personal side of things, me getting nervous about is more of these conversations that, you hear the governor with reporters that they start talking about, Donald Trump's talking about this and this. And what my fear is that the state legislator, or at least from the governor's side of things, is going to maybe detract from what Illinoisans are looking for and need and start trying to, I don't even want to say, quote unquote, safeguard maybe a Donald Trump presidency. Is that something that you guys are kind of maybe a little bit not nervous about, but just keeping an eye on?
Definitely keeping an eye on, especially as we go into this lame duck session. Yeah. I think it's really frustrating because it just proves the will of the voters is not being it's sort of being gaslighted, I guess you could say. Now, while Kamala Harris still won Illinois, you cannot ignore the fact that she didn't win it unanimously. There are many people throughout this state who disagreed with Democrat policies, and to be gaslighted and to be told, don't worry, we're going to keep you safe from Donald Trump. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So definitely watching, but also, so while I've been in office for 4 years, I've always been under a Democrat president. Right. And I would say I have noticed that when we see policies coming out in Springfield, you often see something similar in D.C. or maybe Dick Durbin is talking about some topic and you say, well, gosh, they're talking about that within the House Democrats, too. And I would like to see some more, I guess, collaboration on things like that. And I think that's where we can lead in the Illinois House, especially. So there are good ideas that are going to come out of the next presidency. And let's see, how can we relate that to Illinois? And people are frankly demanding that. Yeah. Like, let's talk about government efficiency, for example. It's a big one. I mean, whoever says, I don't want government to be more efficient, everyone agrees we need to improve that. And so when you look at what's going on with DOGE and those things, while you may not like the personalities, I think it's exactly right. Heavily favored issue between Republicans and Democrats that we need to be more efficient. So let's then take that idea and let's kind of expand that to the state.
It's a great point because that way you're actually seeing complete progress across the board. It's not just something that's done at a federal level and, depending on your state's government, if it affects you or if you're going to have to abide by it, who knows? It's a great way to look at it.
Right, exactly. And I think we're going to have to be really efficient here because we have some budget concerns.
Yeah. And let's take a quick break. Sure. We talk about those here in a second. We'll come back with more Daily Show as this year continues to come to a close right after this on Get Over Here at RiverBender.com.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
When life throws unexpected challenges your way, you need a versatile legal ally to protect you. Sean Lentz, with over 12 years of experience, is here to help you in a variety of avenues. From personal injury to criminal defense and even semi-truck accidents, Sean Lentz has your back. Don't wait for the justice that you deserve. Call 618-465-8000 and see how Sean can help you today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
Ready for fantastic deals? Head to Village Dispensary, where every day is a celebration. Start your week with 25% off Dog Walker pre-rolls on Monday. Tuesday, enjoy 25% off Divs gummies. On Wednesday, enjoy 30% off Nevada pens. On Thursday, it's 30% off CQ sodas, margaritas, and more. Friday, enjoy 3.5 grams of Megatron by NGW and Cronuts number 4 by Paul Bunyan for $25. Visit VillageDispo.com and shop now.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
Yourself a merry little Christmas.
Welcome back.
Let
Amy Elik back in studio. You know, before we took the break, you were saying there was maybe some concerns about the budget for next year. And what are you kind of seeing when it comes to that? Because, I mean, not being funny with you, you were a CPA, you know, an accountant in your previous life. So you have a little bit of an insight on these things.
I do, and I pay very close attention to these things, especially representing my caucus as one of the budgeteers. So we... when the reports come out from whether it's the Governor's Office of Management and Budget or COGFA or whoever it may be, and just looking at general economic factors, we watch to see how that's going to affect Illinois' budget. So one big concern was that the governor's own Office of Management and Budget recently issued a 5-year projection, and for next year's budget, so that's the fiscal year 26 budget, they are projecting a $3.2 billion deficit already.
Wow.
So now a couple weeks later, then the governor's office, that came out right before the election. I think it was issued November 1st. And then a couple weeks later, the governor's office instructed departments that because, you know, they're already preparing their budgets for next year, which the new budget year starts July 1st. But they were told to prepare and find ways that you can, you know, be more efficient or not fill vacancies and things like that. But I think it is decisions from the past coming home to roost. I know that I've said it on this show before. Our revenues are not growing as fast as our expenses in Illinois, and it's going to hit the fan at some point in time. And if nothing changes, this is where we're at. And I know the governor's always saying we're going to have a balanced budget. Like, you have to make decisions now. And this is what the risk is of those new programs and those new things that were put into place over the last several years. Yeah. So it's disappointing, but I would say not unexpected, because we've been predicting this.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's one of those where it's just to me, it's a common sense equation. You know, like you said, it's just how much you take it into how much are you spending. And I get, you know, there's new things out there and new programs, and everything seems like $1 million idea until it actually starts. But what do you think has truly led to this confusion, if you will, of what it takes to balance a budget? Because I just don't understand the thought process on a lot of elected officials' minds when they start talking about it. It's like, what does your bank account look like?
I think it is hard to tell people no when they're asking for money. And so many people, legislators, get into a habit of saying, this sounds great. I'm sure these programs, not all of them, but many of them are great programs that are probably helping people. But did we really help people when we have spent money on government programs that has to be taken away because we have spent too much? Or were there other ways to do it? Were there more efficient ways to do what you needed to do? I cannot go without mentioning the billions that have been spent on illegal migrants that have come to Illinois. I mean, it is something that people are upset about. And again, gaslighting people when they talk about that is just is just ridiculous.
And that's what I was curious about, because, when you hear the argument of the migrant issue, which it is an issue, you listen to Chicago City Council meetings and those citizens will very happily tell you what's going on. But, how much state money was diverted for this? Was it
billions.
Was it billions?
Oh, billions. Yes. Especially when you include the healthcare program.
So we're talking just state money. We aren't even talking about federal.
Yes, that's just state money.
See, to me, it's just that thought alone is, well, we're projecting $3 billion already in the deficit. Well, we could have easily prevented this.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
This is what we've been saying.
It's just amazing.
It's nice to be right, but it's not nice to be right when you tried to warn and you tried to predict, and it's just unfortunate, really. Well,
and I think it goes back to the way the conversation was had, because I think the people that were for this support of the illegal migrants, it was the fact that it's like, well, you're evil because you don't want them to be happy. But the way I look at it is, you have women that are getting sex trafficked and kids that are being raped across the border. You have families getting broken apart and killed if they aren't paying their fees to these smugglers, and they end up here. And to me, it just seems like all the things that we're working for as a country get kind of negated in that conversation, because we forget about all of those terrible things that are happening on that journey up here that's already not authorized.
Right. I think some honesty about the human rights commission about that is really important, because I think if people were really being honest several years ago, they would have found a different way. Yeah.
And it's not really a political issue to me. To me, it's common sense. It's not real. And I just wish that the argument wouldn't be, well, it's because you're, a xenophobe or you're racist, or let's just talk about this. Let's talk about if it's even possible. And if it's not, then it's not.
Right. I often wish that I could get in a room with no cell phones and no hurt feelings and truly have honest conversations with my Democrat colleagues on these issues, because I think they would see I'm more compassionate than they believe me to be. And I know that they're probably compassionate, but do they understand what my constituents are telling me? I want them to hear that part too.
And see,
I don't think they will get in that room with me and not make something all political. I think if we really had honest conversations, it would be very helpful.
Now, on the House side of things, do you think the short turnaround of campaigning affects some of these budget decisions too? Because to me, if I'm somebody that's, with your role, it seems like you have basically a couple of months, and then it's starting the conversation of what's that next term, if it is going to happen, look like. And if I'm new to the game and I want to stay in here, I might take that handout from that lobbyist to go. I mean, just me personally saying, hey, let's get through this and let's keep my job for 2 more years. Does that happen? Do you see that? I don't know. It's just seriously my thought on this.
It is a very tight turnaround. Yeah. And so I think you have to decide very early if you're going to run again for the next term.
Right.
You really do.
Right.
Because the petitions start, it's even earlier now than it used to be. Petitions will be passed in August instead of September now. And unless, I guess, something changes. But it's just, you just keep going, and you're very busy during January through May in Springfield, and you really have to make a decision very quickly. People do run for different reasons and different things, but you definitely have to make some really quick personal decisions about what your next steps are.
That's kind of where because to me, if it's that split second of a decision, especially if you're in a panic mode because something happened in your district and who knows what happened, and you want to still run, you're going to grab at anything. It's not you, but an individual might be one to grab at something if it's that quick of a decision. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if I said it to you before, but I know elections are not won and lost. In the 60 days before an election, you have to be on top of your game the whole time. And constituents will know if you're not.
Right.
And so I would say to any legislator thinking about what their next steps are, like, have you done a good job already? And do you like the job? Do you feel like you're making a difference? And I think most people find ways on both sides of the aisle, like, I'm going to make a small difference that nobody may ever see. Right. And I talk about that with constituent services. I promise you the most rewarding things I've done is help some people with some really difficult issues, but I can't tell you that because it's personal and private and confidential.
Well, and see, to me, those are the things that I would live for in that role, because it's obviously it's great to help 20,000 people, but when you have that one person that's been looking for years for an answer and you can finally give it to them, that's really the role. That's amazing.
It is.
So what are your thoughts, really when it comes to the primary stuff? Because to me, I think that's where we start to see a little bit more of this bipartisan split, because it seems like we're getting more and more either to the left or right of an issue to beat somebody in the primary, and then can we actually get back to common ground? Do you see that becoming an issue?
I do, and there's a lot of talking heads that are encouraging primaries against Republican House members.
It's not healthy.
I think primaries in general are healthy.
Yeah, I
However,
get you there, yeah.
when I am trying to serve my district, which is not 100% Republican district, if I have a 60-40 district or a 50-50 district, the decisions I make on voting for bills may be different than what somebody else does in another district. So criticizing me for not being 100% one way is really disingenuous.
Right.
And it's very frustrating. So I am serving my district the best way I can. And I just got reelected. So I think, majority of the voters thought that I was doing that well. So please don't criticize me because I didn't do it the way that you would do it in your district.
Well, and that's what I meant, because you're right. Primaries are healthy, obviously, keeps you on keeps you honest. But when it becomes the threat of the primary, I just think that's when it becomes this, like you said. Anyway, with that being said, 2024 is ending and 2025 starts with a lame duck session. We just had State's Attorney Tom Hayne on the show and Senator Harris. Obviously, a couple of lame duck sessions have provided some pretty talked about bills, to say the least. Are you anticipating anything?
I wish I could say I know exactly what's going to happen on January 4th through the 7th, but I definitely don't know. And I think it's still coming together. As they say, it's not soup. Sadly, bad things can come along really quickly in Springfield. So we are alert. We are ready to go. We will be spend all night if we have to, and we will make sure that if it's something that's bad for this area, we're going to be really loud about that.
Absolutely. Hey, before I let you go, I know you're a statewide state official, but what are your thoughts on the Madison County scene right now? I know it's part of your district. Are you happy with the work that they're starting off with doing?
Yeah, I think I'm really excited to have my friend Chairman Chris Lesser in the county chairman position. We have good, principled people in the elected countywide positions. And as far as kind of the switch over the years from Democrat to Republican, I think if you're working hard and you're a Republican who's looking to make a difference in Madison County, there's a place for you. And we just sort of did that little by little.
Absolutely. What's your message to your constituents as 2024 comes to a close?
It's one of gratitude.
Yeah.
Absolute gratitude. I am so proud of serving you and honored to serve. When I have events, I have people respond. I just dropped off a trunk full and a backseat full of food down to Crisis Food Center.
That's awesome.
Which is something I do each year, to have a food drive just to get a little bit more into their coffers and help them provide those food items for the community. Those things are able to be done because the community comes and supports those things. And I'm just really grateful.
Well, keep up the great work. I really appreciate all that you do to keep us informed too, and make sure that we're informed about what's going on in Springfield. And I hope that the hair does not turn gray during the lame duck session, Representative Elik.
Me too. Thank you.
No problem. We'll take a quick break. More of our daily show continues right after this quick one on Roku TV and RiverBender.com.
Since